Will Merrick Garland allow Special Counsel John Durham to finish his investigation of Spygate? Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about former Chief Judge of the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals out of the District of Columbia and President Joe Biden's nominee to be Attorney General Merrick Garland. And if he gets his position, the Senate confirms him, is he going to allow Special Counsel John Durham, who was appointed by former Attorney General William Barr, to investigate the investigators of the FBI and the intelligence agencies who were looking at former President Donald Trump and falsely alleging that he was a Russian agent, that he and his campaign had helped Moscow to hack the Democratic National Committee in 2016 and give the emails to WikiLeaks. This was an outrageous charge at the time, but it resulted in a top secret investigation of the Trump campaign. There were Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrants that were taken out against members of the campaign. This would have allowed the Justice Department to look at the communications of members of the campaign, whoever they were in touch with and whoever they were in touch with. So 2 layers at least of separation there. And that would have allowed for surveillance of former President Trump, not only during the campaign prior to his election, but it was carried forward into the transition after he won the election, and it was even carried over into the Trump administration after he was sworn into office. It resulted in former Attorney General Jeff Sessions recusing himself to allow the investigation to continue. And it resulted in the appointment of former Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who ultimately exonerated President Trump of being a Russian agent, said that there was no conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia to interfere with the election. So why was this investigation ever carried out to begin with if it wasn't Russian agents? And what gave them that idea was, how was the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act abused in this capacity? And how can we prevent that from happening again? Those are all questions probably for Congress. And will Merrick Garland allowed John Durham to finish his investigation? I think that's a critical element here. And this came out in questioning from Senator Chuck Grassley at the Senate Judiciary Committee in Merrick Garland's confirmation here. And take a listen to this.
I'm going to go to the Durham investigation. At Barr's hearing, he stated the following regard to Mueller's investigation, quote, "It's virtually important that the special counsel be allowed to complete his investigation." Also at that same hearing, Senator Feinstein asked, quote, "Will you commit to providing Mr. Mueller with the resources, funds, and time needed to complete his investigation?" End of quote. Attorney General Barr answered Senator Feinstein with a one word, yes. With respect to Special Counsel Durham's investigation, I expect that he will be allowed to complete his investigation. If confirmed, will you commit to providing Special Counsel Durham with the staff, resources, funds, and time needed to thoroughly complete the investigation?
So, Senator, I don't have any information about the investigation as I sit here today, and another one of the very first things I'm going to have to do is speak with Mr. Durham to figure out how his investigation is going. I understand that he has been permitted to remain in his position, and sitting here today, I have no reason to think that that was not the correct decision.
Okay, and I suppose that would be an answer that he would only be removed for cause then? Would that be your position?
Well, Senator, I really do have to have an opportunity to talk with him. I have not had that opportunity. As I said, I don't have any reason from what I know now, which is really very little, to make any determination on that ground, but I don't have any reason to think that he should not remain in place.
Okay. If confirmed, would you commit to publicly releasing Special Counsel Durham's report just like Mueller report was made public?
So, Senator, I am a great believer in transparency. I would, though, have to talk with Mr. Durham and understand the nature of what he's been doing and the nature of the report. But I am very much committed to transparency and to explaining Justice Department decision-making.
Now, Senator Grassley, I think he was okay with this answer, but it's not explicit enough. It doesn't give the assurance that, no, I'm not going to fire him, and yes, there will be a report?
At this point, I'm not going to take exception to the answers you gave me about Durham, because I think you're an honorable person. They're not quite as explicit as I hope they would be, like we got from Barr for the Mueller investigation. But I think you've come close to satisfying me, but maybe not entirely.
So there you go. Maybe not entirely in terms of satisfying him. And so I think it's an open question whether John Durham is going to be allowed to finish his investigation. Later in questioning, Senator Tom Cotton had a follow-up question, and Garland was clear that he was not yet ready to make a full decision about Durham, stating, quote, "I have to be there and learn what's going on before I can make that decision. But as I said, I have no reason to doubt that the decision to keep him in place and to continue his investigation was in any way wrong." So he, on one hand, he's saying, yeah, there's no reason he shouldn't be allowed to finish his investigation. But when he gets in there, he may want to find a reason, because political pressure from the White House doesn't want these matters to be investigated. Why was the FBI and the intelligence agencies investigating former President Trump for being a Russian agent when that wasn't even true? And so I think that's a real question. But Grassley is pointing to, Barr let Mueller finish his investigation, and why won't you let Durham finish his investigation? And the report from Mueller was very, very clear that former President Trump was not a Russian agent, nor was any member of his campaign. Quote, "The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities," and, quote, "The evidence does not establish that the president was involved in an underlying crime related to Russian election interference." So there was no crime there. There was no predicate for this investigation to bring it to a prosecution. So was there a good, adequate predicate to have it be investigated in the first place? And if you look at the appointment of John Durham by former Attorney General William Barr, he makes it very clear what the scope of the investigation is going to be. On May 13, 2019, I directed U.S. Attorney John Durham to conduct a preliminary review into certain matters related to the 2016 presidential election campaigns, and Mr. Durham's review subsequently developed into a criminal investigation, which remains ongoing. Following consultation with Mr. Durham, I have determined that in light of the extraordinary circumstances relating to these matters, the public interest warrants Mr. Durham continuing this investigation pursuant to the powers and independence afforded by the Special Counsel regulations. As such, he appoints him to be special counsel. In addition, he outlined the jurisdiction, quote, "The special counsel is authorized to investigate whether any federal official, employee, or any other entity violated the law in connection with the intelligence, counterintelligence, or law enforcement activities directed at the 2016 presidential campaigns, individuals associated with those campaigns, and individuals associated with the administration of President Donald J. Trump, including but not limited to Crossfire Hurricane and the investigation of Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III." And so it goes on, but the point is that Special Counsel Durham has been appointed because crimes were committed. We know that much, that this is a full-scale criminal investigation. Crimes were committed, and Durham's supposed to get to the bottom of it. So Garland, really, he's duty-bound to let Special Counsel Durham finish his job the way Barr let Mueller finish his job. And so the ball is in Joe Biden's court. It's in Merrick Garland's court. Should he be confirmed by the U.S. Senate? I think it's likely. If Durham is allowed to finish his job, he'll have to get to the bottom of the dossier, these intelligence allegations from former British spy Christopher Steele, who said that there was, quote, "a well-developed conspiracy of cooperation between Trump and Russian leadership. It was managed on the Trump side by Paul Manafort using foreign policy advisor Carter Page," and that according to these sources, the Russian regime had been behind the recent embarrassing email messages emanating from the DNC to the WikiLeaks platform. The reason for WikiLeaks was plausible deniability, and the operation had been conducted with the full knowledge and support of Trump and senior members of his campaign team. And it turns out that that wasn't true according to Mueller. This was concocted intelligence. It was bad intelligence. Somehow or another, it finds its way into the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court and results in the FISA warrants against Carter Page going all the way back to October of 2016 and carrying well into 2017. And Durham, if he's going to finish his job, he'll also need to look at the January 5th, 2017 Oval Office meeting between President Obama, then Vice President Biden, James Comey, former FBI director, Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor, Sally Yates, Deputy Attorney General. And there's a lot of bombshells on this from Susan Rice's summary. She wrote to herself on January 20, 2017, quote, on January 5th, following a briefing of IC leadership on Russian hacking during the 2016 presidential election, President Obama had a brief follow-on conversation with FBI Director Jim Comey and Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates in the Oval Office. Vice President Biden and I were also present. This was the same briefing following the 2016 Russian election interference briefing that was given to Obama and then to then President-elect Trump. And this was the intelligence assessment that stated that Russia was trying to help Trump to win the election by interfering in the 2016 election. But the version that was given to former President Obama and then President-elect Trump also included the false allegations from Christopher Steele. That also found its way into the assessment in some capacity. According to Peter Strzok's notes, he had handwritten notes that were about the January 5th Oval Office meeting. It was none other than then Vice President Biden who had raised the Logan Act as a potential target for Michael Flynn, former National Security Advisor. So I think that there's some allegation that Biden may have been who persuaded Comey to continue on and carry over this top secret investigation from the Obama administration into the Trump administration and directing the investigation at former President Trump. And I think that's outrageous. But at the same time, William Barr, in his capacity as Attorney General, said that they weren't really looking at Obama and Biden. Take a listen to this. This was back in May of 2020.
Now, under the longstanding standards of the department, criminal charges are appropriate only when we have enough evidence to prove each element of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the standard we're applying. Now, I have a general idea of how Mr. Durham's investigation is going. And as I have indicated, some aspects of the matter are being examined as potential crimes. But we have to bear in mind what the Supreme Court recently reminded us of in the Bridgegate case. As the court said there's a difference between an abuse of power and a federal crime. Not every abuse of power, no matter how outrageous, is necessarily a federal crime. Now, as to President Obama and Vice President Biden, whatever their level of involvement, based on the information I have today, I don't expect Mr. Durham's work will lead to a criminal investigation of either man.
And so there you have it. Biden should let this investigation move forward because it's not about Biden. It's not about Obama. It's about abuses that occurred at departments and agencies, and there could have been crimes that were committed there. We know as much as the fact that it is a special counsel investigation, crimes were committed, and to get to the bottom of it, before the election even occurred, Barr appointed Durham to be special counsel. So it's not about the White House. If Biden and Garland now fire Durham, this will cement Republican perceptions nationwide amongst Republican voters that we live in a two-tiered justice system and give the appearance of a cover-up. If Biden has nothing to hide, why would he not allow Durham to finish his investigation? If Garland has nothing to hide at the Justice Department, why wouldn't he allow Durham to finish the investigation? So the obvious cost of firing Durham would be bipartisan support, I think, of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and the nation's intelligence agencies. It's a pretty large price to pay, don't you think? Well, maybe we should let Durham finish his job. And I'll leave you with the close here. Now, to avoid any appearance of impropriety, the onus is on Biden and Garland to let Durham finish his job. If the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was abused in 2016, then the American people and Congress need to know about it so it can be fixed, and never again will our nation's intelligence agencies be used against political opponents in this matter. That's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day.